I first want to describe a little bit about what I'm going to talk about tonight, and that is, or this afternoon, and that is, this is about medical freedom, the conference in general, which is extremely important, needless to say. I'm going to be showing some examples of patients who lost their medical freedom, if you will, because they were injured in a way that they lost their dignity as a person. And you'll understand after you watched it, through no fault of their own. 25 years ago, I started Operation Kids, and we made a parent company called the American Medical Center. All of it's me. I wanted to make it sound big so people would give it respect. And I financed it with fractions of profits from aesthetic plastic surgery, which I also could do. And that's what financed it. So if I do get to some aesthetic things, I don't mean for that to be the primary part of the talk, but I'm very grateful to those people who decided to come to me when other doctors could have done their surgery, and it helped support our primary function, which was to do free surgery on children. And in 25 years, we did 1,511 free operations. We did get $1,500 in donations from a fellow MIT grad who insisted on paying for the OR time of 2 children that he found in the province that were burned with acid. But for the most part, I just used profits from the cosmetic surgery to pay for the OR time and the anesthesiologist. And it's very expensive because I couldn't do some of the heart surgery I did in less than 6 hours. So that really adds up. But anyway, I won't talk too much about this. It's a picture of me from when I was 21, graduated from MIT and had to go back to take organic chemistry and biology. And if you don't know MIT, you may have seen the movie Good Will Hunting, and you may have seen the movie 21, which wasn't a great movie, but it was about card counting, and I used to be a card counter. That's how I paid for MIT and medical school. So they actually stole my story. I'm gonna sue Kevin Costner. But anyway, and that's an easy math problem on the board too. So they fail completely there. That's find all homeomorphic irreducible trees of n equals 10, which is a really easy problem. So this is the stuff I like to brag about because I don't consider myself that smart, but I've had my moments, and so I always put it up here so that people, maybe they will listen to this guy a little bit. And all this charity surgery was done in Cambodia, which is truly a place of extremes. This is a secondary entrance to the King's Palace, and this is a place where a bunch of squatters live along the Mekong River. And I actually had a girlfriend that lived in there, and I begged her to introduce me to her parents, and she finally did. And about halfway through the meeting, I had to go to the bathroom. So I said, "Where's the bathroom?" Like that. And she said, "No, can't have a bathroom." So none of those places have bathrooms. They use the Mekong River. That shows you how difficult it is and how lucky you are to have been born in the United States. I think everybody recognizes that. Now, I was told by Richard, my mentor, who was a fabulous mentor before I came here, I hope he's out here, so I can see him right there, not to talk about making movies, which is my second or third love. And so I won't talk about it, but I will say that I fixed a fracture of the leg of a kid who climbed up in a tree to watch us make a movie that I wrote that was compound and comminuted. If anybody that's out there that's an orthopedic surgeon knows that's broken in more than 2 places and sticks through the skin. But I fixed it by just building a scaffolding with twine and chopsticks because they had no external fixators, no plate and screws, and no intermedullary nails, which are the standard ways to fix fractures. So I just told the lady, the nurse that was there, I was 4 miles from Phnom Penh, and his mother wouldn't let me take him to Phnom Penh to fix it. She said, "No, you have to fix here. We don't leave our town." And so something hit me about Gulliver's Travels, and I said, "Go get me every chopstick you can get and every piece of twine." So I built this scaffolding around his leg, and it healed perfectly. This is after I've taken 90% of it off. And you can see it's going to heal great. And the movie was good too. So here's Operation Kids, which will go. By the way, I have a lot of slides here, and I'm trying to go fast because I don't think I can fit it in 20 minutes. So if you'll just bear with me, I'll do as many of them as I can. The 95% of the surgery that we do is on children that are burned with acid. Now, the girl on the right is an example of a long-term burn, long reconstruction, and the one on the left was burned less than an hour before the picture was taken. And you can see the blisters on her on the back of her palms. And it was terrible. She ended up taking her life. It was a horrible thing. I don't even want to tell you the story. It was over a $10 chain. Okay. Now, I started out doing burn reconstruction, but of course it expanded into everything because there are a lot of poor people there that don't have enough money for surgery, and they wanted surgery too. So of course, they were as welcome to come to my clinic as anybody. And we ended up fixing decubitus ulcers of children that were in wheelchairs because of polio. They got decubitus ulcers. And flap creation for amputees. And there's a lot of amputees in Cambodia because they step on landmines. And then we've got a whole mental health problem because a lot of times it's a little girl who's running with her parents like this in the fields, and she steps on a landmine, both parents get killed, and she has no legs. So you can imagine what she feels like. This was another feature of our charity, and that was tutoring. And this started out because I fixed the leg of the little girl in the yellow dress whose right calf was scarred to her right thigh in the back. And so she had two arms and one leg to get around on to go to school, and she was getting teased a lot. So her mother brought her in, and I fixed her leg, separated the calf from the thigh. And we kept her in the clinic for about 10 days and taught her how to walk again. She'd forgotten how to walk. And I told her mom at the end, I said, she's gonna have no problems, no one's gonna tease her. She's gonna be able to walk just fine. As a matter of fact, she wanted to be a model, of course. And we taught her how to walk with a book on her head, and it was really great. So she's crying when she left. She was so happy and missed the nurses already. But the mother said, I'm really worried about my older daughter. Something's wrong with her brain. She can't think quick enough. So I said, nonsense, bring her in here, and we'll work with her with chopsticks, pens and pencils, money, so that she can get a job later in the market selling something to take care of herself for a living. And so this is just an example down here of her doing her math lesson, and she's just the greatest kid in the world. She'd run down the hall and jump on me every time it was her turn to come. So that's free tutoring we added. Then we found that we had no one to fix the children that were coming in with heart anomalies, and they had been a heart surgeon for a while, but they lost the funding and they just stopped altogether doing it. So I said, well, I'll try it. And so I went back to residency at age 56, which was really hard to stay up all night when you're 56. It's hard enough when you're 30, believe me. But so I did it, and I focused on pediatric surgery. So I started doing pediatric cardiac surgery. And those are my hands tying the knot there for the cannulation of the aorta. And you can see the tubes in the shadows in there. That's the afferent and the efferent blood from the vena cavas and going back to the heart after we give it the right blood pressure and so forth. And we did a lot of heart surgery. I'll tell you, heart surgery is common, even pediatric anomalies. Now, this is the patient number one, and I'll try to talk faster, or at least say less. This girl I knew. I got a call one day from Scott Neeson, and Scott is the president of Sony Pictures at the time. And this was his Girl Friday, and he had opened up a charity where he took kids off the garbage dumps and who were collecting metal for 50 cents a day, got them into school and so forth. And she's this brilliant lawyer, Girl Friday, her name is Nurn. And she, on the day that she was asked to be married, somebody threw a bunch of acid in her face on the back of a motorbike. Her fiance was riding the motorbike. Oh, no. Uh-oh. Let me see if that comes back. Oh. Nope. Well, okay, please tell me not to touch this too strongly. Anyway, she was in there, and I got the call from Scott. He said, come to CalMed Hospital. And I went in there, and smoke was still coming off her head. The ER doctors did not know to dilute this acid. And I'll tell you, everybody was crying, because she's the greatest person ever. And I was cutting the tops off of IV bottles and pouring cold water on it until we got the smoke to stop. And when I pried her eyes open, they looked like little pieces of charcoal that you cook barbecue on. And I knew that I was a good student, and I knew that the cornea had 7 or 8 layers thickness. And I asked an ophthalmologist that had come down there, that they called down, named Dr. Fu, whom I knew. And we discussed it, and we decided that there was a 1 in a million chance if she got drops put in her eyes every 4 hours, that she might still be able to see, even though her eyes looked like pieces of charcoal when I pried them open. And I said, well, we're gonna do that. So me and 2 nurses slept in the clinic every night on the carpet in the lobby. And every 4 hours, we had a little alarm there. We went over and we put those drops in her eyes. And then, like I say, about a month into it, I was on duty that night on the carpet. And just as the sun was rising, I could barely hear it, but I heard this faint voice. It said, I can see. I'll tell you, it's something you never forget. It's an incredible experience. It was a miracle. So she sloughed her last piece of charcoal off, and her eye was there looking pretty as you please, you know, just clear and beautiful, and she could see through it. So the problem, however, at that point was that it had scarred open, and she couldn't close her eyes anymore. And what happens is corneas will get ulcerated from not being moistened enough. So it was good that we had put those drops on there, and we continued doing it. Of course, she could do it herself then. We didn't have to sleep on the lobby floor. And but there's a problem when your eyes are scarred open, and that is you've got to make cuts above and below the opening on both sides so that the lids can be in apposition to each other to keep it moist so you won't get ulcers on the cornea. And you see where I'm making a bed over there on the left? And I took the skin from behind the ear, because the skin from behind the ear is very thin, has just a little bit of fat, which you must defat, because you're using oxygen that diffuses through the tissue to keep that full thickness graft alive. If you don't get enough oxygen to that full thickness graft, it'll turn into a black potato chip and just fall off. So I gave her a facelift also, so that I would remove all the burns in front of her ear. And there I am taking the graft off her, behind her ear. Sorry about that. That was the only bloody shot in the whole thing. I took out all the bloody ones. So you can see the full thickness graft going in below the left eye, the right eye there. And we ended up doing it there, and there. And we put in things called bolsters, because you want to defat the graft and push it down as hard as you can into the bed, if there's any doctors out there, because you want to let that oxygen diffuse right up into the graft to help it survive. And you have to do it. And that's what she looked like after 4 days. Now, to someone who's not a doctor or is unaccustomed, that might look pretty bad, but I'll tell you, to a doctor, it looks real good. 4 days later, because I cut the grafts the right size for the holes I created, and only a little bit, I wish I had a pointer. I wonder if this thing has a pointer. I don't know.
It does, but it won't show. That's the LED wall.
Oh, wow. You see a little green? Yeah, you're right, though. I can get it over here on the black and say it's over there, but why would I do that? God, it is easy to make a joke, isn't it? Okay, but do you see how close the eyes are in apposition, the eyelids? So that kept her eyes wet. And I tell you, I was real happy about that. The only place that I was worried that it might not make it is in the corner of the right one. It looks just a little funky there, like it might not quite survive. But that's her a month later. Thank you. All right. We do not have time for applause. 5 minutes? Oh, God. Do you all mind if I go over just a little? 5 minutes. Okay, golly, thanks, John. Thank you, movie star. Okay, couple problems here. It looks great after 1 month. And here's the thing. That is the look every surgeon wants. That look says, you're gonna get me out of this, aren't you? That's what it's telling me. Because she was blind before, and she was just asked to be married, and she didn't think it was gonna go through. But her husband held her hand through every operation. And they got married exactly to the day, 1 year after the acid burn, 1 year after to the day, and he held her hand through every operation as an act of defiance. Because I asked him, I said, Song, do you have a girlfriend? Who threw acid in her face? You know, and he said, I have no idea. I don't have a girlfriend. And I believed him. And he was right. It never became a thing. It was mistaken identity. Can you believe it? That started the whole thing. So there's a couple problems here, and I will do it very quickly. On the right, above her eye, the accordion motion of the eyelid, which is very sensitive, had gotten mangled by the graft. And you can see on the right, the left isn't bad, but on the right, it's easy to see the oval. And I'm gonna shoot you through a reason why I remembered that from when I was an undergraduate, how you can hide things that are easy to see. I had to make a hard crease in the upper lid and tape her eye shut for a month while it healed. I had to do a Z-plasty on the 2 vertical scars there, one in her glabella, which is between her eyes, and one right by her left inner eye. You see them? Y'all are gonna have to concentrate to follow me from now on. All right, you see it? You see there? And also the oval scar is easy to see because we're used to looking at circles, triangles, squares when we're little kids in school, in straight lines. So I had to fix all that. And I remembered when I was an undergrad, someone had put his fist through the wall of the drywall in the basement when a girl dumped him or something. And I didn't know anything about carpentry, so I didn't do it the smart way, which would be to go to the carpentry store. I was a pledge, and they assigned me to fix it. So if they said, here's $100, fix the hole in the wall. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I bought the right materials, the putty, the paint, the drywall. And I wasn't smart enough to know to just cut it into a square, which is a lot easier than trying to look at that stellate thing and draw it. But that's what I did. I, of course, did the dumb thing, but it fit. And you'll see why later, because I have some artistic ability. And it fit perfectly. And of course, I puttied it in, I sanded it, I painted it yellow like the rest of the wall down there. And stupidly, I let it out that I had done it that way. And I got teased incessantly at dinner every night. I was the idiot savant. I was an idiot because I didn't convert it into a square. And I was a savant because I was able to do it. Because if you're off 1 degree on a stellate thing like that, the whole thing won't fit in there. I learned later. So anyway, what I did was I converted that oval I Z-plastied all around the circle because people would have a hard time noticing a broken up oval with Z-plasties as they do an oval. And then when I finished the course, that all happened before this, because you got to put some of these slides out of order. Great, I missed the punchline. That's what she looked like at the end, from how burned she was. Now, she got her dignity back. She got her medical freedom back to choose the doctor to help her in whatever way she wanted it done. And that was what was so great about how this relates to what we're talking about today. Now, let me move on to another one. And I know I'm late, but please bear with me, all. She ended up marrying the other guy who's training to be a doctor, who learned a lot about doctoring from it, I can tell you. And now they have 2 girls and a boy. Now, this is a horrible burn. Now, I'm going to go through this fast, but this discloses something that I invented on my own, so I'm very proud of it. This girl is burned so bad. She was burned at 22 with acid. She's 20. She was burned at 15. She's 22 now. And she is burned so bad. People always ask, what does the skin feel like? Is it like leather? And I go, on this girl, it was like tree bark. It was so bad. You had to fix it, and you had to take the tree bark off. There's a lot of things I want you to remember, but see the upper picture there? See the place where you can almost see the striations of the muscle? That's muscle. That was burned all the way through the skin down to her muscle now. So I had to, and that's more than halfway across her chin, obviously. So I had to undermine the skin all the way up into her cheek here and slide as far this way as I could to cover that burn part on her chin. And it was really hard to do that. I gave her a facelift in reverse. I mean, it was really hard. So remember that picture, okay, when I show you the final picture. But now, I always tell people, this is not a low-budget movie we're making. This is a no-budget movie. And that's what our clinic was. It was no budget. We had no donations, except that MIT guy that gave us $1,500. But I didn't have a dermabrader, and it really hurt me on this case. I had to take, instead of doing a free graft, where I take something from their forearm and I get to ring it free and sew the radial artery and vein into the facial artery and vein, I had to leave it as an island so it would still get oxygen while it was healing on the face and grow its own artery and veins into that island. And then with a quick prayer and a couple of alligator clips, clip those two artery and vein vessels, and then hope that it didn't turn gray, and then go ahead and cut them. Because once you cut them, you can't put it back. And so I did that, and that is called a radial artery island flap. And it was the first one I ever did. And I told her that, but she'd been to every burn reconstruction charity in Cambodia. Is the movie star lurking? The movie star is lurking. Let's be careful. All right, so I had to do something I'd never done before, but I told her I had never done this before. I think I can do it. She and the guy that brought her in said, we've been everywhere else. No one has any clue how to help her. I said, I'll do my best, and I want you to know it's the first time I've ever done it. But I will tell you more later, just a second. So I put it in there, and that's 6 weeks after being wrapped up like a pretzel in a ace bandage, one of those real wide ones, wrapped real tight so that she couldn't move her head that much. If she did, she would have broken loose the radial artery and vein, and blood would have hit the ceiling, and it would have been over. She would have lost, she'd had a hole in her face and in her forearm. Okay? So I also gave her I fixed that scar contracture in the middle of her neck, because that would have kept contracting and pulling her head down, down, down. If you've ever seen a burn patient, it's horrible to look at. They really suffer. That's what I mean by anything else. And do you realize how beautiful this girl is? What a beautiful profile. I mean, can you imagine? Okay. You ain't seen nothing yet. So there's a straight line there between the graft, which is super soft, and the burn skin, which is a straight line. So people notice straight lines more than jagged lines. Again, it's the way we're brought up as little kids doing math. And of course, there were no canals on Mars, although everybody thought there were, because they saw little jags in the dirt, and they said, oh, wow, somebody made a canal on Mars. But really, it was a random set of asteroids hitting Mars, and they looked close to a line and so forth. Okay. But we didn't have a dermabrader, so I had to use sandpaper, which I used. Believe it or not, we didn't have any equipment. So I Z-plastied that straight line, and I sandpapered everything above it. And now, here's a problem, and this is where I invented something that's really, and you're coming up now, and it's time for you. How much time can I buy for $20? $1 per second? No, come on, let's go. Okay, anyway, do you see how her mouth is starting to get pulled down in the corner? If you take away anything from my lecture, it's that the mouth is the most important organ, not the eyes, not the nose. By far, it's the mouth. When you're painting someone or putting them back together like this, it's the mouth. So I had a real problem here. This thing was going to get worse and worse and become more unbecoming as time went on. So I used my brain and figured something out. And what I figured out was I had a patient, a little boy. Where is he? Oh my God, where's the little boy? Did I lose my little boy here? Oh no, oh here he is. Okay, well anyway, to make a long story short, and I will make it short because Richard.
Too late for that. Too late, it's already too late.
Okay, can I show you the finished picture? Yeah, I'll skip all this brilliant stuff that's never been in a plastic surgery book. And I will show one last slide that's funny, just to keep you from hitting me later. I'll show you the final thing. I did a beautiful mouth on that boy, didn't I, with all those scars around it? And I applied it to this girl, and Simone Gold will be very happy to hear that I took it all down and sewed it back together in my office under local anesthesia. Hospital, completely unnecessary. And see how straight her mouth is now? And look at her now. And this is an early picture. Those black stitches are gone now. You can't see that at all. And the little line between the graft and the flap that I advanced to do her chin, remember how bad her chin was? That little line there you see between the graft and the chin, I've Z-plastied it 25 times. You can't see that either. You can't see any of the scars you see there. And I started out with a girl that was burned so bad, I can't believe it. I mean, this is the best thing I've ever done in my life. And what I'm talking about here is what I've already alluded to. I'll be done in 10 seconds. You need to see the beauty see the beauty through her scars. And I'm talking about the beauty of the individual person, of the human dignity. That is what you need to see. And when you see that, and not until you see that, you are ready to help that person. Now, I'll give you one funny joke at the end. I'll go through this so fast, but look at the picture. See how pretty I made these people? That was horrible, but Linda here, who is a wonderful person, I augmented her lips, and I didn't overdo it, did I? She's beautiful. But let me quickly show you a funny joke. Boy, I did go over, didn't I? That was going to be something that I would let the women hug me if they got it right. Who is this girl related to? It's Elvis Presley. All right. Don't worry. Okay, here it is. I'm done. I swear to God, 5 seconds. This is a painting that I did, first painting I'd ever done. And I had to look on YouTube to figure out how to mix the colors. Skip's laughing because he knows this story. This great guy right here. This is another picture of the same girl when she'd gotten a little older. She was my former girlfriend. And this is a copy of a Leonardo da Vinci painting named Lady with an Armine. And go ahead and look it up when you're done. This is America's 10 Most Wanted. This is my idea for the next painting. I know. This is my idea for the next painting. You got Dazik in the corner, then Leanna Wynn. Then I just drew this Peter Fauci in the hallway over there because he's on my other computer. So I had to quickly draw him from no memory. And Deborah Burks. Thought you'd get a kick out of that. I'm going to do it just like the real America's 10 Most Wanted and hang their pictures on it.